The sun beat down on the plains like a hammer. Dust curled in lazy spirals over the dry earth, painting everything gold and brown. Tom Harlow squinted against the glare, hands steady on the reins of his old horse. Cattle grazed, listless, chewing grass that was more dust than green. He'd seen mornings like this 100 times. Quiet, empty, safe. Until the figure appeared. At first it was just a shadow, flickering near the edge of his property. Then he saw the shape, a man, hunched, carrying a heavy burlap sack. Odd, wrong, out of place. Tom's stomach tightened. Out here, strangers didn't wander. And whoever this was, they weren't strolling. They were creeping, tense, like the land itself had warned them. Tom spurred his horse closer, boots digging into the stirrups. "Hey!" he called, voice low and firm. "Who's out there?" The figure froze, stiff as a scarecrow, then jerked around. Wide eyes, white as bone. Fear radiated from him, raw and sharp. He held the sack tight, trembling. "Don't touch that," he croaked, voice barely more than a whisper. Tom's pulse thumped, slow and heavy. Something about the man's tone. It hit harder than a bullet. Curiosity wrestled with caution. He'd been raised to protect his land, his herd, his life. But he had also been raised to understand fear, and that fear, he'd never seen it like this. "Easy," Tom said, or halting his horse, studying the stranger. "What's in the sack?" The man's eyes darted, panicked. He took a step back. I can't. I swear, don't touch it." The wind kicked up, sweeping dust across the plains, rattling fence posts. Tom's mind raced. Was it a wild animal? Stolen goods? Something worse? Something deadly? Every instinct in him screamed to stop, to turn away. But another part, a stubborn, unyielding part, pressed him forward. He reached out, fingers brushing the rough burlap. The stranger's scream split the air. "I swear, Don, to touch it." And just like that, the plain seemed to hold its breath. Tom froze. The sun blazed overhead, the cattle stared, the wind howled, but the scream lingered, sharp, desperate. His hand hovered over the sack. Something inside it moved, something alive, or something dead. He didn't know, and he wasn't sure he wanted to. The world had narrowed to that sack, that scream, that moment. And Tom realized, whatever was inside, it wasn't meant to be found. Tom stood frozen, hand hovering over the burlap. The stranger's eyes were wide, wild, pleading. His voice trembled. Please, don't." But fear tangled with curiosity, and Tom felt it gnawing at him like a wolf at the edge of a herd. He'd wrestled with this before, staring down danger and deciding whether to face it or flee. Out here, hesitation could kill a man just as fast as boldness. The sack shifted again, a subtle movement that made Tom's heart hammer. Something inside it moved, something alive, or pretending to be. Dust swirled around their boots. The wind carried a low whistle across the plains, like a warning. Tom's eyes narrowed. He remembered a rattlesnake he'd nearly stepped on last summer, the venomous coil hidden beneath dry grass. That memory tightened his chest. He knew the feeling, the fine line between curiosity and death. He backed up a step, then leaned forward, inspecting the sack from a distance. It bulged strangely, heavy at the bottom, lighter on top. A twitch here, a shift there, subtle hints, enough to make his skin prickle. His mind drifted to other times he had faced danger on the ranch. Wolves picking off calves, a fire that nearly took the barn, a man who tried to cheat him out of land. He survived each because he read the signs, because he didn't flinch. Yet this was different. He couldn't read it, couldn't measure it, only feel the dread sinking into his bones. And still, that gnawing curiosity pushed him closer. One careful hand lifted the edge of the burlap, slow, deliberate. His pulse throbbed in his ears. The stranger dropped to his knees, clutching at the sack, voice cracking. "You don't understand what this is. Stop. Please, stop." His fingers dug into the dirt, his face wet with sweat and dirt, pleading, begging. Tom hesitated. His eyes caught a flicker beneath the burlap, a glimpse of something that made the blood chill in his veins. Not enough to see fully, but enough. Enough to know, enough to fear. And then the sack shivered violently. The wind seemed to drop. The world narrowed to that single, impossible shape beneath the burlap. Tom swallowed hard. Something told him he couldn't unsee it, couldn't undo what he was about to know, and yet he didn't pull back. The stranger's scream pierced the quiet again, jagged and raw. "You don't understand what this is." Tom's fingers lingered on the sack, and just like that, everything changed. Tom pulled back the burlap, and the sight hit him like a fist. A child, small, trembling, bound, gagged, eyes wide, glistening with fear. Alive, barely, but alive. The kind of terror that turns your blood cold, that claws at your heart. He froze for a heartbeat, then knelt, careful, hands steady. The child flinched, eyes darting, body shaking. "Hey, it's all right. I won't hurt you," Tom whispered, voice low and rough. His fingers worked quickly, undoing the knots. Rope cut into tender skin, and the child whimpered. Tom cursed under his breath. "Shh, it's okay. You're safe now." The stranger collapsed nearby, chest heaving, tears streaking dirt-streaked cheeks. They took her. The gang. They've been terrorizing the towns. Kidnapping. For ransom. For blood money. His were. Diaz stumbled over themselves, desperate. Tom's eyes narrowed, scanning the plains. The sun was dipping low, shadows stretching long. His mind raced. Outlaws. Nearby towns. An innocent child caught in the crossfire. He'd faced danger before, yes. Wolves, fire, rustlers. But this was different. This demanded more than courage. It demanded action. He lifted the child, careful, cradling her close. She shivered against him, small arms clinging, terrified but clinging. And in that moment, something inside Tom shifted. Protective instinct, raw and unyielding, surged. He wouldn't leave her here, not alive, not like this. The stranger hiccuped, sniffling, trying to catch his breath. "You have to stop them, or she won't survive. They'll be back. Soon." Then the sound came, soft at first, distant, then growing. Gunshots, faint, echoing across the plains. Tom froze, pulse racing. The gang. They were close, minutes away, maybe less. And he held the key to their plans in his arms. The child. The evidence. The reason to face whatever came next. He looked at the stranger, whose fear mirrored his own. Tom felt the weight of choice pressing down like the desert sun. Stay back, walk away, let someone else handle it, or step into the storm. Guns, danger, death looming, and fight. Fight for the child, fight for justice, fight for what was right. And there it was, the moment that defined him. Tom tightened his grip on the child. He took a deep breath, and then he heard them, the outlaws, coming fast, closing in. No time left to think. Only one choice, and it would cost everything. Tom crouched low in the shadow of the abandoned barn. The child pressed close against his chest. The wood creaked under the wind, and dust motes swirled like ghosts in the fading sunlight. Every gust of wind, every rattle of the loose boards, made him flinch. He could feel the plains holding their breath with him. He scanned the horizon. The outlaws were coming. Distant shapes on horseback, low and fast. Dust kicked up behind them, trails stretching long in the dying light. Each hoofbeat thudded in his chest like a warning drum. He counted them, 5, maybe 6. Experienced enough to know he couldn't fight them all head on. Not yet. Tom slid the child deeper into the barn, tucked her behind a stack of hay. "Stay quiet," he whispered. Her small fingers clutched his coat, eyes wide but trusting. Then he moved out, low, careful. Every shadow was a threat. Every crack in the barn floor a possible betrayal. He found a narrow ridge overlooking the main path, a perfect vantage. His hands hovered near his rifle, but he didn't rush. Out here, patience killed more than bullets. The outlaws rode closer. He heard their laughs, sharp and cruel. "Looking for trouble?" one called. Tom didn't answer. Instead, he let the tension stretch, let them wonder. Fear can be a weapon too. Shots rang out, crackling across the plains. Not reckless, strategic. Tom fired when he had to, forcing one to duck behind a rock, another to stumble off his horse. The gang faltered, confusion spreading. The wind carried the smell of dust and gunpowder. Tom moved like a shadow, thinking, planning, every heartbeat loud in his chest. He disarmed one of the men in a quick, precise move, sending the outlaw sprawling into the dirt. Relief surged, but it was short-lived. From the darkness, a figure stepped forward. Tall, commanding, slow, the kind of presence that freezes a man's blood in his veins. Tom squinted. Ricky. Ignition hit him like a sledgehammer. The leader, the man who had haunted his past, who had crossed him before. The the man who had betrayed towns and lives alike. And in that moment, the world tilted. Not just danger now, shock, betrayal, history coming full circle. The child behind the hay didn't understand, couldn't know, but Tom did. And the plains seemed to stretch, endless, as the familiar face of the outlaw leader stepped fully into view. The air tasted of dust and fear. Tom's fingers twitched near his rifle, and he realized this fight was far from over. The leader stepped into the light, face sharp and familiar. Tom's gut twisted. This was no ordinary outlaw. This was a man with a grudge, a score settled long ago, and now it had come roaring back across the plains. Memories of betrayal, of land lost and trust shattered, collided with the present. "You," Tom said, voice low, steady. "I should have known it'd be you." The leader smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Harlow, you always did think you were untouchable." His hand hovered near his gun. Threat hung in the air, thick as dust. Tom's mind raced. The child was hidden behind the hay, small and fragile, trusting him. Every instinct screamed to protect, to act fast, but he knew brute force would cost lives. He needed cunning, strategy. "Listen," Tom said, calm but firm. "This doesn't have to end in blood." The leader laughed, bitter, sharp. "You think you can outsmart me? You've always been too clever for your own good." Tom's eyes flicked to the horizon, calculating. He used words, not just hands. "I've seen what you do, who you hurt. Let her go, walk away, and no one else has to get hurt." The outlaw leader's eyes narrowed. Suspicion warred with reason. In that silence, Tom acted, quick, precise, like a shadow in the dust. He disarmed the man with a subtle twist, a flick of the wrist learned from years on the ranch, keeping the child safe. The gang froze. Hesitation cracked their confidence. In the chaos of his clever maneuver, Tom demanded the child be released. One by one, the gang lowered their weapons. Pride and fear clashed in their eyes, and finally, the choice was made. They fled, leaving their leader humiliated, disarmed, and powerless. Tom ran to the barn, scooped up the child, holding her close. Tears streaked her dusty cheeks, but her small smile brought relief like a sudden rain. She was safe, alive, and in that moment, justice felt tangible, earned through courage and grit, not vengeance. Days later, the child was returned to their family. The reunion, quiet and tender, stitched a small patch of hope into the rough fabric of the West. Tom watched, heart heavy but relieved, knowing he had made the difference. He rode back across the plains, sunset painting everything gold and blood red. Dust swirled in the fading light, and the horizon stretched endless. The West remained harsh, unforgiving, and beautiful in its cruelty. Tom dismounted, eyes scanning the distant hills. The wind whispered through the grass, carrying memories of danger, courage, and the weight of choices made. He breathed deep. And then, just as the last light slipped behind the mountains, a lone figure appeared on the horizon, watching, waiting. The West had a way of reminding men their stories never truly ended. Tom tightened his coat, lips curling in a wry smile. He knew he'd be ready.